guys, so this is the mood board that we're going to use today in the Hump Day challenge. And this is a challenge that I created for the Victoria Marie Facebook page challenge page group. It's not really a page, it's a group on Facebook. And a whole bunch of us scrappers hang out there, and there are challenges twice a week and then some other fun stuff that goes on, and we just hang out and we share our stuff and we do challenges together, and it's really fun. And so Victoria started a design team so that one, she can do some really cool stuff on her channel, but also because there is starting to get a lot of people in the group, and she really it's a lot of work for one person to come up with challenges, that much. So it's really fun because a lot of us scrappers get to come up with challenges and all that fun stuff. So you've seen me do my whole heat embossing, and I didn't even explain it. So let me go back, and I'll just do a quick run through what I did while I'm picking out some of my papers for the beginning part, and that's the photo that I'm going to use. So I mixed my acrylic paints to get a dark gray blue color. I really was trying to have it look like the sky, and that Serendipity paper from Dear Lizzie, the one that's underneath the photo right there in the right hand side, was kind of like my inspiration for my thought process for the background. I wanted it to look like the sky and like stars or like fireflies or whatever. And so I was trying to get like a dark blue, black, gray color. And it was really hard because, one, I don't have any black paint. I just have grays. So I was adding blue to gray. And so it came out a little bit lighter than I was planning. But I had a hard time mixing the blue in and it not being blue. I didn't really want it to be blue. I wanted it to be more of like a black color. So that's the color I got with. And that's fine because really it turned out really, really nice. And it's really striking with the white around the border. I used washi tape so that I could, one, have a straight line as much as possible. And also so that to make that page kind of like a canvas. So I just painted it over it, and I did use gesso on it first just because I wasn't sure. And then I heat embossed. You've seen me use my stamp, and I used two different stamps, both from Pink Fresh Studio, or I think they're both from Pink Fresh Studio. They were in the embellishment kit. So one's like a check mark or like X's, and then the other one is hearts. And I just thought that the hearts one were going to go with my photo, and the X's kind of look more like fireflies. So that kind of was my thought process. It did not turn out perfect because this was the first time I ran through with this. Now, sometimes when I do mixed media type backgrounds, I will actually do like a run through beforehand and see how I like it. I did not do that with this. It just depends on how much time I have. And like this week, I had a lot of other stuff I wanted to get done too, so I thought, if it doesn't turn out perfect, that's fine. And that's all part of the learning process, I think, with doing mixed media type backgrounds. So I will probably try to do this again at another time, just so that I can perfect maybe like that process of making sure that the background is really, really clean. And I wish I had one of those powder tools, because I think that would have helped some of the embossing powder not to stick to certain parts. So here I'm building my layers, and you're going to see, I am really, really careful with this process this time. Sometimes I just do my layers all whoops, sorry guys, all willy-nilly, and I really am not too picky about how much sticks out for the most part. And this time I really, really, really wanted to make sure I had tight layers, but that only bits and pieces were sticking out. And because I was using a 6x6 paper on a couple of the layers, it made it harder because this is a 4x6. So it only is gonna, that 6x6 paper is only gonna go like be the size of the photo. So once I start building layers, there's extra there's extra space. So I have to be kind of thoughtful while I do these layers that, there's going to be those spaces, and just work with it. And that's fine. And I don't really mind it being like that really at all, because those lines create visual interest in the layers. It makes you notice different parts that you wouldn't have thought. So I was thinking about using that Amy Tan paper. That's the wood grain, just because I thought it would go with the background of the tree in the back. But it just, I don't know, it just didn't look right. And I thought I needed maybe some more pops of like red or yellow, and I knew that this paper had yellow. So I'm being really, really, really careful, and you see me looking to decide exactly where I'm going to cut this. Now, a lot of times I would just cut the edge off and it would be fine, but I knew that there were some triangles in there that had yellow. So I'm trying really, really hard, and it makes me laugh watching this through, because I tried really, really hard to get those yellow triangles to show up, even if it was just a little bit on the layer. And it ends up being that you can only see one of the triangles. I think there's two that I was trying, but the one side, it just was too much was hanging off, and I didn't like that. So you see me playing around with this, and I find it a little comical because, yeah, I spend quite a bit of time doing this. But I think there's just some times when you're doing layers on layouts, you just take your time and you make it look the way that you want to make it look. And sometimes it works out just being, whatever. And so I wanted one more layer, and I decided to use that vellum. I thought that would be a nice little touch. And the gold matches with the gold embossing. So I'm going to add some bits and pieces of layering with these die cuts, and I tried to cut a little bit out of where I'm just flipping through die cuts, because that's kind of boring, but you will see me go through. I still, look at all the pieces I still have from Maggie Holmes. I still have a lot of that. There was so many in that pack. And they're really fun too. And as you can see, I'm just kind of building off some embellishment clusters. I'm going to have two, one on each side. And you'll see me move stuff around a little bit more as we get going. At this point, I'm just looking through these and seeing what I think is going to match with the different layer colors. I'm really trying to stick with the mood board. I'm trying to stick with the green, a little bit of green, but not really. Like some pops of red from the strawberries, the either wood grain or like a yellow color to match like the yellow from the color from the cups, and then like the grass being like yellow, like waving grass, and then a lot of blues and stuff like that. So that's kind of what I'm thinking about even when I'm looking at the embellishments. So I looked through quite a few different pieces, like collections and stuff, trying to see what I have. And this tends to be my process, is I kind of go through and I look through a lot of different stuff. And I mean, maybe if I had did this ahead of time, it would have cut my process down a little bit, but I don't mind. I mean, I find making layouts really fun and generally not too stressful. So, okay, so if it takes me, an extra 10 minutes to go through embellishments to find just the right one that I wanted, so be it, right? I mean, I think it's different for every person. If you don't want to spend the time, then just use one pack. If you want to spend the time to look through if that's therapeutic, as you can see, I just didn't show you guys me taking all the pop dots off. So I'm just taking these clusters that I kind of built up and fixing them and building them, and you're going to see that even some of the stuff that I picked out for the clusters don't end up in the clusters. I really love that Happy Today card with the different color pinks. That really reminded me of the strawberries. So I picked the mood board pictures based on different things that reminded me of like the beginning of summer, like strawberries from strawberry. I used to go strawberry picking a lot when I was especially younger, and catching fireflies when I was a kid. And I remember playing hide and seek at dusk time, so when it would start to get like nighttime, and then you'd see the fireflies, and then you'd start seeing all the stars out in the sky, because I grew up in the country, so stars were like nothing. I mean, you would see thousands and thousands and thousands of stars, where like here in Hawaii, yeah, I see some more than I did when I lived in Texas, but there's still just quite a bit of like residential lights that you don't see as many stars. So, I mean, like my kids, when they finally get to see stars, they're going to be like floored. So I do try some stickers from the Serendipity because I really liked that blue color and I really wanted to be able to make that work. But I just couldn't figure out any of those stickers to match. So I do use that one. It ends up in my title for recording Happy Days. And I will say, I had a hard time with the title because I wasn't sure if I was supposed to put an apostrophe after day for days. Because, I mean, this is one day in particular, but I'm just in essence talking about recording like these special happy day moments. And so I don't journal while I do this. And actually I haven't journaled yet, but I'm planning on doing some journaling and sticking it on the back and just kind of talk a little bit about how I find it important to like document all these moments in our lives that tell our family story. So this is a picture of my brother last August when he got married. He was living in California and outside of San Francisco, like that area, the San Francisco area. So, but they got married like about an hour or so away from their home. So it was in like the orchard part of that area. So I don't know if anybody is familiar with that area at all in California, but once you kind of leave the city, there's like nothing. And then all of a sudden you end up in like the hill country and there's like orchards and vineyards all over the place. So it is gorgeous around there because they use all the water in the orchards and in the vineyards. But it was just gorgeous where the wedding was. It was like right next to an orchard, so there was like grapes all near it, and there was this big tree that was beautiful. Like, oh, I think it was a weeping willow type of tree, and oh, it was beautiful. And of course, they played up on that, and they had a lot of yellows, like country type, like a nice country. Someone who lives in the city country theme, so which is not bad at all. I mean, I grew up in the country, so like country wasn't always classy. So, but this was really, really nice. So it was fun to be a part of this, and then it was fun to document it, to remember just the fun. So I'm going to use those Chamel thickers and then use a couple of these. And I will say I like these, but they don't stick very well. So I don't know if it's just the humidity here, but I've had to glue down a couple of the ones that I put on here because they were falling off my layout. So you didn't see me add this to there because my big old fat head was in the way, and you're going to see my head on and off through this last bit. So I'm going to apologize, but I kept trying to fix this, and I really wanted you to see how I fix and alter this S. This is a Dear Lizzie thicker from the Dear Lizzie thicker packet that went out with the Serendipity, and the color wasn't too bad, but I really wanted it to match the ombre effect, so I used that dark blue, and then here I'm using like a little bit lighter blue, and I mixed the colors just a little bit, and you can kind of see it, and I'm hoping that the close-ups show a little bit of this S. I hope you guys enjoyed this layout, and don't forget to check over at Victoria Marie's Facebook page and see what else everybody else does with this challenge. So I'll talk to you guys later and see you. Bye.